People deluded, I'm back again. Emile Smith Rowe looks set to join RB Leipzig on a season-long loan. Ironically, I have a video about a certain RB Leipzig player that I think's got a lot of potential, and I'll probably drop it tomorrow. But back to Emile Smith Rowe. Obviously, he's a young player I've known about, you've known about for a while. I think he's a very good player. Probably in the last 18 months, I've seen a more rapid development in him, in that, obviously, when you're watching them at under 18s and 23 levels, everyone's got potential, everyone's got talent, but you're waiting for that one bit of added greater consistency and standout. And he was doing that in the last 18 months at under 18 and 23 level. You look at the checker trades and things like that. Obviously, you're now seeing Emery was fond of him. He signed a new deal. He played in pre-season and things like that. This season, he's sadly been restricted with a lot of injuries, and that's probably my only worry about his loan spell in regards to. They've assured him football. No, there's no assurances in football, but they've assured him first-team football. The amount of injuries he's had and the amount of game time he's going to get, will he get more injuries or whatnot, or is he one of them you keep to the end of the season? But that's just me being selfish as someone that likes him and an Arsenal fan. But from a non-biased point of view, as non-binary as it could possibly be, it's a good move. He had a good, like I said, he's been standing out for the last season or so as a youngster. He's been in the thoughts of the first team. He obviously had a good pre-season. He signed a new deal. He's been in and around the first team. He scored some goals in the Europa League. He's been on the bench in the Premier League, and if he's not on the bench, he's been on a regular basis. Been the 19th man to travel with the 18-man travelling squad. So if someone was to get injured out of the selected 18, he would fill the squad space either on the bench, I assume, because he's the 19th man, or possibly even start as Saka's done as well. So he's a good player. We know he can play on either flank. He can play in the middle. He's a very creative player. He's someone that the club rate highly, and he's going to have a long-term future. He's a very creative player, very cultured player. I've got a lot of time for him, and I'm sure you lot have as well. He's obviously under 17s England World Cup winner as well. So if you look at Callum Hudson-Odoi, Sancho, Foden, he's in good company, and arguably he didn't really get that much game time. So that's testament to how strong it is. Away from the injuries, if he stays fit and if there's a proper plan to keep him fit and them things there and not mitigate against injuries, then I'm all for it, man. He obviously is going to join. It looks like Eddie and Nketiah look set to go to Augsburg. Nelson's obviously at Hoffenheim. He's going to join our youngsters in Germany, and he's going to join the whole leap of English players that have flocked to the German league and got experience. There's so many youngsters you can invite, you can imagine. So there's no point me sitting here and saying it. But it's a good move, man. If he's going to play week in, week out, what can I say? Week in, week out, he's going to have to get greater consistency. He's going to ultimately have to perform to a great standard, because obviously, as much as I like him, 10 games, you don't know what you're going to get from these young players. They're young, so there's going to be some games they're going to do that off-the-cuff, unpredictable stuff and grab the headlines, or either score an assist or do something that makes you think, wow. Equally, there's going to be games you probably want to hook them off at half-time. It's not going to be pretty, as he already knows as well. It's not going to be pretty anymore. It's not pretty Arsenal. We're not. I assume Leipzig's fourth in the Bundesliga at this moment. So going into most Bundesliga games, you'd expect them probably to dominate possession and things like that. But I don't know that to be true. They've got Werner and they've got Werner and obviously Poulsen and who else they got? They got quite a few, Forsberg, quite a few good attacking players that Emile Smith Rowe can link up with and play to a decent standard. So it's not no weak team. He's going to have to fight in training and fight to start on the match day. And we all know, as much as we love him, people, to the German fans, they can appreciate that he's a young player, but they're looking at it as if it's a thing like Denis Suarez. They don't really care for Arsenal and what he's done here. They need to see the consistency. They need to see the great games. So it's down to him to play good for 10 games or so. And I'm just using that as an example, and getting and remain in the team for every match and things like that. Obviously, he's young. He still would need to adjust to playing twice, 3 times a week, essentially at that level. So there'll be times like Nelson, he'll be out the side and things. But it's a good experience. At the end of the day, under 23, under 18s, youth football, whatever you want to call it, it can only teach you so much. And when you're like Emile Smith Rowe and Nketiah, Nelson, and a couple other Chelsea boys and many other examples, you're stuck in limbo because you're badding up under 23 levels. You become a big fish in a small pond of sorts. You're not really developing. First team, yeah, you might get the occasional cup game. You might travel with the team if you're lucky, get some minutes, but you're not really first team. So it's time for him to go and get some minutes. I think it's a move to accelerate his development. What I mean by that is you've got to give these lot time. I would love for Nelson, Emile Smith Rowe and all these players to come back beefed up, 10 times the players they are, but that's not how football works. It's their first, if you really want to say it, they've obviously been at Arsenal and had minutes, but these are the first real seasons, well, season and a half for Emile Smith Rowe, but season that Nelson and season and a half for Eddie Nketiah, but you get the point. This is the first real season that you're judging in them as senior professional, well, not senior, but professional footballers, not youngsters with potential. So we can't. Obviously, if these guys have good games, we'll praise them and talk about consistency. If they have bad games, we'll give them a lot of leeway because they're young. That stuff doesn't matter no more. Obviously, we still need patience because they're not going to come back twice to players. I said it in the previous vid. I see Nelson as someone that can get near enough 10 goals, 10 assists. Do I see? I want it to happen next season for him. Regardless, I want him in Arsenal at first team level. But do I see him as being that player tomorrow or next season if he was to get recalled or whatever? No, because I've been watching him in Hoffenheim. He's had some great games. He's had games he's been anonymous as well. He's still developing. That's nothing against him. Many youngsters have to. You can't underestimate patience and needing to develop. The main thing is getting games. So Emile's still going to develop and stuff. We need to calm the hype train down, but I do think this is to accelerate his development. And I do think out of all of these young players, I don't know, but out of all of these young players, he's probably the one that would probably, is looking to feature in the most. And I get why the likes of him, Eddie Nketiah, obviously Nelson in the summer went out on loan, because as much as Unai Emery spoke about young players and all that jazz in the summer, he's got a million things to really worry about and things like that. And we know Emile Smith, you're either playing him in the 10 of sorts, or you're playing him on either flank. We've brought in, it looks like Denis Suarez, which you're looking at that he's going to occupy them positions there. Ozil plays this, he's played on the flanks earlier in the season, but obviously he's playing in the 10. The same goes for Ramsey, Mkhitaryan to come back from injury. So you can imagine, as much as it comes down to Unai Emery being brave and playing these players, but clearly we're trying to get back in the Champions League and things like that. So he's opted to go with the more seniors. Saka, I don't want Saka to go out on loan this year. You can't rule out next year, but I don't want him to go out on, I don't think he needs a loan really, but I don't want him to go out on loan. But he's probably the youngster, him and Amici are the ones that will probably be called upon if and when they're needed. So yeah, on the topic of Eddie as well, from a selfish point of view, God forbid if Aubameyang and Lacazette get injured, we're in some trouble. But man, I'm all for the loan spell for Emile Smith Rowe. I just really hope that they're not wrapping him in cotton wool, obviously, but we're being, in regards to his injuries and stuff, there's a proper programme, as there will be. Clearly, Arsenal aren't going to sanction that. Just if you could look after my lad, please, because I really want him to return to Arsenal, man. Him and Nelson got to be in the first team next year. They're still developing. Even if they were in the first team next year, you probably could have looked at them as someone that's going to make the difference and things. I'm sure, I think Unai Emery's not really on the youth thing this year, but by the same topic, I think he wanted to keep these players, but from a non-selfish point of view, they've got to go and get games. Emile's 19 in July, I believe, so he needs to go and get games. There was a lot of interest in the summer for his services on loan. We elected to keep him. He signed a new deal and he made some progress, but clearly him and Unai Emery have had an honest conversation, regardless of his potential, how much he could probably feature. And Unai Emery's probably said it'd probably be best you go out on loan, or obviously I want to keep you, because he did in the summer, but the option's there and he's taking it. It's a brave decision and I rate it from him, because at the end of the day, many youngsters in his position would have stayed. He's clearly one of the standout, if not the most standout youngster at this club. He's had his injuries, but the occasional cup game, and he's travelling, he's playing with Arsenal. No, he's elected to go to Germany, where he's just another player on a match day trying to do a job for the team that the fans are going to critique, so there's going to be a lot of pressure. He's going to need to show consistency. This is what I like about youth playing at senior level as well, because at times you get away with a lot of stuff at youth level. I've seen people carrying the ball for too long at youth level. They might lose the ball, the other team concede. The other team score and you concede, and obviously you know that's your fault, but the impact's not really there. If you do that at first team level, if you don't track your runner, you go on Twitter or or whatever, you talk to more senior players within your own dressing room, you're immediately going to know you did that. So you're going to think a bit twice and be a bit less selfless and things. I want to see how he fits into their team as well. Admittedly, I haven't got their formation and things to hand, but he can play on the 10, he can play on the flanks, an attractive position for both, man. So I hope he gets as much football as possible. I hope he stays clear of injuries, and ultimately I hope he gets the confidence to play at a greater level, the consistency into his game, and just comes back a better player than he left, because that's the whole point of the loan spell. You guys know I love the guy. How much vids I done on this player before he even come out of the thing, really, and got his debut. Yeah, man, allegedly he's had his medical, and it looks like a case of dotting the I's and crossing the T's for a couple of moves at Arsenal. You're seeing with Denis Suarez at the time of making this vid, Emile Smith Rowe, that man in question, and I've spoken about him in another vid, but Eddie Nketiah. So yeah, man, hopefully our three Germans, if the two boys do complete it, our three English players on loan in Germany can do the business, man, and yeah, man, respect to these three respective clubs if they give them the amount of football they deserve and things, as Hoffenheim have done to a degree, depending on how you look at it, because you could say arguably Nelson hasn't got enough game time, but it is what it is, man. Emile Smith Rowe's got a platform to build on his 2 goals in the Europa League. We'll be cheering you on all the way. I'll be assessing your progress, as you guys know. You see all the vids. So, yeah, man, obviously I won't be there all the time, but you'll get a rough picture from me as to how he's doing eventually when he goes. Just wait on official confirmation, because currently this is still nothing but speculation. But if it is completed, Emile, you've got a bag of ability. We're cheering you on all the way, and do your thing, man. On that note, though, I'm going to get out of your lot's hair. So, people, DG, comment, subscribe, and do the rest if you wish. I'm out.